How's it going, Rogues Gallery, and welcome to another Flesh and Blood video here on Red Zone Rogue. Today, we are returning to our Monarch prediction video, and we're going to see what we got right and what we got wrong. Did we even get anything right? How much did we get wrong? Because I'm sure we got some stuff wrong, and I think we got a couple things right. So this is going to be a fun video. This is going to be the first time I do this kind of return to a prediction video. This is something that I've seen a lot of other YouTubers do. Tellurian Community College, Riker, some of my favorite YouTubers out there. Low-key shout out to those guys. Those guys are awesome for different content, much different content, but great dudes. And I thought this would be really fun to do with Flesh and Blood. So yeah, we're going to take a look at all of my predictions from Monarch. How crazy were they? How tame were they? And we're going to do this for the next set as well. We're basically going to do this for every single Flesh and Blood release because I think this is really fun. Before we get started, I do want to mention various affiliates with the channel, some sponsors of the channel, some great folks. Channel Fireball, Fab Foundry, and Red Riot Games. I actually make videos over on channelfireball.com about Flesh and Blood. You can use my affiliate link and it goes and supports me directly if you're going to buy Magic, Pokemon, or Flesh and Blood, any of that kind of good stuff. And if you're looking to pick up some singles from some smaller stores, Fab Foundry and Red Riot Games. Red Riot Games is actually from Canada. Both excellent. Fab Foundry is local to me, so I highly recommend all of those stores. They get the Red Zone Rogue stamp of approval. Or if you just want to support me directly, go ahead and check out my Patreon. I have multiple tiers there where I give like cards and booster packs back to you, but any tier will give you access to the Rogues Gallery, the Red Zone Rogue community Discord. We talk about a lot of stuff over there. Card games, video games, just all sorts of stuff over there. So go ahead and check that out if you'd like to support me. But without further ado, let's finally go over my top 5 predictions for Monarch. I'm really curious, man. I'm really curious to see what we got right. So let's go on with number 1.
Number 1, my first prediction is that there is going to be 4 brand new classes coming with Monarch. What classes do I think they're going to be? So first of all, I highly think there's going to be 2 like light classes and 2 dark classes, because we've already seen some Monarch key art. There's like a big light versus darkness kind of thing. So I think that makes a lot of sense. 2 light classes and 2 dark classes. So for the light classes, I am going to guess Cleric and then maybe Bard or Illusionist. I'm going to say, just to put my chips down, I'm going to say Cleric and Bard for the light classes. And then for the dark classes, I'm going to say Necromancer and Assassin.
So yeah, I definitely got that wrong. That is a definite X, a definite wrong prediction, though I kind of got it right a little bit. We're going to give that a wrong anyway, but I kind of got it right a little bit. We did have 1 brand new class, and we kind of had some new classes with the talent system. We're going to talk about the talent system a lot because that talent system actually goes into a lot of these predictions, funnily enough, even though they're not all about that kind of stuff. The talent system is such a big deal for Flesh and Blood that it actually is baked into a lot of these predictions, and will actually... Basically, it'll shape my predictions going forward in future sets because it's such a big deal. So we didn't get a lot of new classes. In fact, we only got 1 new class, but we kind of got some sort of new classes with like Shadow Brute, Light Warrior, and the Shadow Runeblade. And that's just because, so you can only play Shadow Runeblade cards if you're playing a Shadow Runeblade hero. So it's kind of like its own class, but it's not really its own class. So we're not going to count that. We're not going to count that. So that is 1 wrong. Not looking good so far. Not looking good so far. So let's see if we got anything else right. Let's go on with prediction number 2.
So for my second prediction, we're going to talk about the Flesh and Blood lore. My prediction is that the good guys are going to lose. The bad guys are going to win. Solana will fall and Monarch will end with the good guys being like defeated and the bad guys standing triumphant.
So was I right? Did the bad guys win and the good guys lose? Did Solana fall? I'm going to say sort of. I'm going to give this a tentative correct. I'm going to give myself a correct on this, but it's a very tentative correct because I'm not 100% sure who won, if anyone won. I don't think anyone exactly won, but Solana definitely got wrecked. Solana basically fell. There's a lot of pictures of Flesh and Blood art like Celestial Cataclysm and Dusk Path Pilgrimage where you see Solana in not good shape, and definitely the countryside is like completely ravaged. There's like giant piles of skulls and stuff. Like the good folks of the country didn't make it out very well. So I'm going to give myself a correct on that one. I would say that the bad guys definitely won. I mean, like, what's considered winning, right? Did the bad guys get defeated and pushed back and all destroyed? No, I don't think they got destroyed. And did they destroy the countryside and kill a bunch of people and make giant piles of skulls and stuff? Yeah, they did. Did they completely decimate all of the light heroes? No, but I think they destroyed enough to count that as a win, right? Any sort of like mass damage, even if the enemy's not completely destroyed, I'm gonna count that as a win, right? So I'm gonna give that a win. If you are a huge lore buff and you can be like, no, the light definitively won, the shadow definitely lost, let me know in the comments down below. But from my perspective, even though the light didn't get completely destroyed, I'm gonna say the shadow still won because of all of the damage they did, and they basically got to make it out scot-free, right? Like, Chain's still like kicking, Levy is still kicking, they have like their big old demon dudes. So yeah, I don't think the light won yet. So I'm gonna give that one a win. So we are 1-1. Let's see with prediction number 3.
My third prediction is something we've already mentioned a couple times, is that there will be a legendary card that is not an equipment. What that is, I don't know. I'm gonna put my chips down on a hero, but I predict that there will be one card in Monarch at legendary rarity that's not an equipment.
I'm also gonna say that this one is correct. My core prediction was that there would be a legendary that is not an equipment, and there's definitely multiple legendaries that are not equipment in the Monarch set. We have both Doomsday and Eclipse, which are instants. I kind of like threw one out there and said there might be a like new legendary hero. There definitely was not a new legendary hero, but there definitely were legendary cards that were not equipment, and that was my core prediction. So I'm gonna give that one a correct as well. And I think this is gonna be something we see going forward in Flesh and Blood, where there's a more wide variation of legendary cards. I really hope they never print a legendary card that you need 3 of, right, in a classic constructed deck. I hope they're all restricted to 1 per deck, so you only ever need 1. I think that's a very dangerous and slippery slope, because I think a lot of folks are already not super happy about like legendary pull rates. And you know, I've been there, man. I've been there. I've opened up boxes and cases where I didn't get any legendary, and it's kind of a bummer. I am in a good, fortunate situation where, you know, I have all these cards and I am able to trade for the stuff that I need. Even if I don't have the raw cash to spend like hundreds and hundreds of dollars on these cards, I have enough cards so I can trade, right? And that's what I do. So I'm going to say that's right. My prediction is correct. There were definitely legendary cards in Monarch that were not equipment. And like I said, hopefully they stay this course and make it so it's like just kind of 1 per deck kind of thing, because you never want to see a card like Enlightened Strike at legendary rarity. That would be awful. That would be awful for everyone. So maybe not investors or, you know, flippers. That might be great for them, but for everyone else, that's pretty terrible, including myself, because I don't want to get 3 of a legendary. So yeah, let's go on to prediction number 4.
My fourth prediction has to do with the pitch mechanic. So I know a lot of people have seen all over the internet talks about like, oh, the pitch mechanic will be fully realized in Monarch, and they've listened to interviews with James White, who said like Monarch will be the place where the system is fully realized. Though he did say that it wouldn't get more complicated, just more fully like formed and fully realized. I think there's going to be a little trick to the pitch mechanic, and the new classes in Monarch are going to kind of like do something with that. So if you do see like more graveyard focused classes like Necromancer, I really think that there's going to be some sort of mechanic involved with pitch and the graveyard, or maybe doing something from cards while they're in your pitch zone. So you pitch a card and then you can maybe use that card while it's in your pitch zone for a resource. So instead of going underneath the deck, you know, replenishing your deck, maybe it does something else. Maybe it gets banished or something like that.
So this one is straight up wrong. Straight up wrong. There was no huge pitch mechanic overhaul kind of thing in the set. In fact, what James White was alluding to with the full realization of Flesh and Blood, and I even did a video about this, is the talent system. And like I said at the beginning of the video, we're gonna talk a lot about the talent system today, because that incorporates a lot of what's going on in Monarch. There were some cards that kind of played around with the pitch system, like my preview card, Mutated Mass, but overall, not really. Overall, not really. There's just kind of some cheeky cards here and there. but mostly it was about the talent system. That was kind of like the big revelation. The fully realization of Flesh and Blood was the talent system in Monarch. And I think it's a great system, by the way. If you haven't seen my video on it where I talk like really in depth about it, I think the talent system is brilliant. Like, it's such a good way to balance things. So when you print a new card, you can print it for like a shadow brute, right? And make it so it's not playable by other brutes. So you can make it a little more powerful than usual and make it specific for certain types of heroes without being specific to a singular hero. Currently, we only have one shadow brute, but in the future, we could have like 2, 3, 5 shadow brutes, and all those shadow brutes can use the shadow brute cards, but the other brutes can't. And it's just a way to narrow the power level down to very specific classes and that kind of stuff. Which I think is a very smart idea for a game that is going to be non-rotational. So prediction 4 was definitely wrong. We are 2-2. 2 correct, 2 wrong, more or less. Let's go on to prediction number 5 to see if we won out in the end.
And my 5th and final prediction is kind of a doozy. This is something I've been holding a little bit close to my chest, not talking about it, with a lot of other people, because this is something that I think is going to happen, but I don't necessarily think it's going to happen in Monarch. James White has said in an interview that Monarch will change the way you look at your cards in your collection, and it'll change the way that you like build decks. So my prediction based on that is that card borders and regions will matter. So for example, characters like Kano and Kasai both have the same border, signifying that they are both from Volcor. So heroes' borders actually signify where they are from. And I predict that those borders will tie into other cards referencing borders. So instead of being like a Viserai specialization, maybe the card has a Demonastery specialization, and you can only put it in a deck that has that same border. And my really spicy prediction with this is that it will tie into organized play. And there is historic precedence for this happening in other card games, specifically Legends of the Five Rings, where players in organized play at big tournaments would rep their faction. So say I'm playing in a Legend of the Five Rings tournament and I'm playing a Crane deck, right? And my Crane deck goes all the way and wins the tournament. Then the Crane clan in the official storyline would, affect things differently. They would win whatever conflict is going on. And I think that could tie in to Flesh and Blood.
So this one was a doozy. This was kind of like my haymaker. And I am like kind of proud of myself for making this prediction because it kind of predicted the talent system. Not exactly, but it kind of did, because I predicted that borders would matter. And borders definitely do matter now. Not as much as I thought, but they still matter. Card borders now not only signify where a hero is from, but it also signifies their talent, and that's actually very important. So it gives like a character a regional identity or like a factional identity, but it also shows like what their talented is and what like the special ability of that region is. So like, for example, for the Demonastery, with the Demonastery border, we have Shadow, and we have the same thing for the light border, right, in Solana. So in that way, borders definitely do matter, right? They matter in that they signify a hero's region and they signify their talent, which is very interesting and very cool, and I can't wait to see all of the borders. I think we've seen a lot of them already on some of like the heroes. We've seen like Bravo and Reinhardt, we've seen their borders, but it's gonna be really curious to see what talents go along with those borders. The other part of this prediction was one that I specifically said wouldn't be till later, at least in Kingdoms, if not further, and that the borders will matter for organized play, where like you would rep your region, right? So you would either rep, I guess now it would be the shadow talent or the light talent or whatever, and that would tie into the story. So like, say if a light hero won the world championship, well, maybe the light wins in the world of Wraith, and so for the next cycle, the light's kind of like oppressive or something. I'm still kind of like iffy on that, maybe like 50-50 or something, but it would be awesome, right? So total score is 3 correct, too wrong. At least that's what I'm gonna give myself. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. And let me know if your predictions were correct too. And if you like this kind of video, because I had a lot of fun doing this. I made that prediction video about 4 months ago, and we're definitely gonna do it again for Kingdoms when we get closer to Kingdoms. Hopefully Flesh and Blood launches will be closer together now, because man, the wait between Crucible of War and Monarch was brutal, dude. It was so brutal. So hopefully we get, you know, on a closer like 4-month release schedule, and we can do this more often, because this is a lot of fun. We can talk about new Flesh and Blood stuff more often. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. A big shout out to all of the community members here, both on Patreon and just subscribe to the channel. The Rogues Gallery, you guys are awesome. I have some really cool stuff coming up for everyone in the form of some giveaways and some really big announcements with some big companies. I got some really cool stuff going. If you are part of my Patreon and you're part of the Discord, you might know what I'm talking about already. But I'm now starting to ramble, so we're gonna end the video here. Like I said, thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time.